You're listening to They Shoot Films with Ken Mercer and F.T. Kosempa.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of They Shoot Films. I'm Ken Mercer, and I'm here. Actually, I'm not here, as always, with the great F.T. Kosempa. F.T. Was and is unavailable this week. And there's no way we could do this podcast without F.T. So we put our heads together, much like the Three Stooges used to do. And once the pain wore off, we decided to actually bring back a podcast from our archives, something that was done that we had done for Film Symposium West back in 2024. The subject of the podcast is Samuel Fuller's 1964 cult classic, The Naked Kiss. If you've never seen The Naked Kiss, I just have to say you haven't really lived until you've seen The Naked Kiss. Think about it this way. In 1964, the top grossing film at the box office was Mary Poppins. Yes, Mary Poppins, the film that brought us such classics as A Spoonful of Sugar, Supercalifragilistic, and who could forget Chim Chim Cheree? And now, in 1964, that same year, comes Samuel Fuller with his film, The Naked Kiss. People might want to ask, well, what's The Naked Kiss about? And I guess if I had to lay it out, what The Naked Kiss is about a bald prostitute who beats up her pimp and then moves to a small town to become a nurse for, in the parlance of the times, crippled children. She then falls in love with a millionaire pedophile. Oh, and there's also a murder, and of course, there's got to be a musical number featuring the aforementioned crippled children. I'm not making any of this up, and to be honest, I probably couldn't make this up even if I wanted to. Not surprisingly, this film was a big influence on modern directors like Quentin Tarantino, and in terms of today's rebroadcast of that podcast, there's some good news and some bad news. The bad news is the audio quality is not up to the usual They Shoot Film standards. And that's because FT was calling in on a phone patch that day. The good news is you'll get to meet FT's dog, Mr. Sweetie, who made a surprise appearance when he tried to horn in and make a cameo appearance in the podcast. So you'll get to hear Mr. Sweetie. He doesn't make an appearance until the end, so you're gonna have to wait for that or fast forward. Hopefully you'll just wait for it. But enough of my blabbing. For now, just enjoy this archival podcast from the year 2024, brought to you courtesy of the fine folks at Film Symposium West. Roll tape. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ken Mercer, and I'm here, as always, with the great F.T. Kosempa. F.T., how are you?
Swell.
All right, we're here this week to talk about Samuel Fuller's 1964 film, The Naked Kiss. My first exposure to The Naked Kiss was just flipping around on TV one night and seeing this film that was just kind of the weirdest thing that I'd ever seen, and then it just got weirder and weirder, and I couldn't stop watching. And I didn't know what the film was. I didn't know who the director was. But I was immediately struck by how weird it was, and also great. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Wow, I gotta watch this again from the beginning." What was your first exposure to The Naked Kiss, FT?
I think it was watching at the Thalia in New York. I think I had seen Shock Corridor on TV, and that is another weirdo, obviously. But I think it was a Thalia, 95th Street, 96th Street, New York City, Sam Fuller Festival. So there was a lot of them being shown there, stuff that you can't even get on streaming or video, like Verboten, I believe, So it was pretty good. And I was struck by how odd the film was.
Yeah, it's interesting because Shock Corridor, the concept, you kind of obviously gets weird, but it's again, it's in a mental hospital, so you
Right.
kind of expect it. Whereas this thing, and that's what's so fantastic about it is, it's 19, or I call it 1950s. I mean, obviously, it's set in 1963, as we know
The
from
banners.
as soon as she gets there. Let us know we're in 1963, but it really plays like 1950s America. But and I think that's the point of the film. It just gets so twisted.
Yeah. There's a cultural point though too, because when we talk about the '60s historically, we think of it as a big change from the '50s, and it wasn't until like '66, '67, generally. You know what I mean? Maybe not in the cities.
See, I'm gonna push back on you there, because I think when I was watching this film, and I was born in December of '62. Watching this film, I was like, wow, this was so racy and so must have been so controversial in 1964. But kind of looking more into it, there were a lot of. I think by '64, things had started to really become.
Right, less code.
The times had started to become a changing by '64. Marty Scorsese said of Samuel Fuller, he said, "It's been said that if you don't like the Rolling Stones, then you just don't like rock and roll. By the same token, I think that if you don't like the films of Sam Fuller, then you just don't like cinema. At least you don't understand it." And so Fuller, as you know, FT, but for the audience, had been a studio director, and was used to walking in and pitching movies to Daryl Zanuck, most notably, and having the studio chiefs say, "Good idea, go do it, Sam," and was used to that kind of relationship. But by the '60s, with the studio system falling apart, Fuller became what he calls a Lindy. Are you familiar with that term, FT?
I am not. An independent of some kind?
Yeah. Lindy was an independent filmmaker working with independent producers. And it was interesting. Fuller said he never saw a dime of the residuals he had been promised for. He's pissed off because he said, Naked Kiss, it's always on cable, it's always been replaying, and I've never seen a dime of residuals.
Why do you call it a Lindy?
I have no idea.
Excellent point. Excellent job.
If there was no prohibition on you using a computer during the podcast, you could ask Google, but we don't use computers on the podcast.
See, I want everybody to write in and say, please, free the computer keyboard. Free keyboard.
Okay.
I think Marty's wrong, by the way.
No, so I did find out without using my computer. A Lindy was named after the Lindy Hop, which was a popular dance.
Why is that? All right, anyhow.
And it was named after a dancer who fell off a stage and broke his foot, and therefore was unable to work in the normal dance company, and was forced to work independently as a one-legged dancer.
Lindy.
Wim Wenders said that Sam Fuller never made a film that took over 4 weeks to shoot, or had a budget over $1.5 million.
It shows sometimes.
Yes, and I think there are places in this film where it shows, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that. Even though it's like we are prohibited from using computers during the podcast, we're also contractually prohibited from saying negative things about the films on the podcast. But I'm sure.
Yes, we are prohibited.
So, do you know anything about the genesis, so the background story of the making of this film, Shock Corridor FT?
You mean the film Naked Kiss?
I was just testing to see if you
testing
were...
1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Underworld, USA.
Are you aware of any of the background of the making of how the Naked Kiss came to be made?
I do not.
As the story goes, so he had just, as you know, the year before in '63, Shock Corridor had come out, and Constance Towers was also. What do you call her?
Well, we're talking like Marty, Connie.
Okay, well
Constance Towers.
let's talk about this because I think this is important. Yes, actors have names for credits, right? Kenneth,
Oh, yeah,
whatever.
okay.
But
Yeah, okay. I got you.
you don't call me Kenneth,
No, you got mad at me the one time I did.
right? So, and I don't call you Franklin.
I'm not Franklin, that's why, but you are Kenneth.
No, but right, but that would be my name if in the credits. But
Yeah, but in your book, it's
So-
not your name. You didn't sign on to this as Kenneth Mercer.
right.
But
Anyway, so as the story goes,
grades right before our eyes.
as the story goes, Sam Fuller's on. So can I not call? Do I have to call Sam? Call him
Sammy.
Do I have to call him Samuel Fuller?
What was his? Did he have a nickname? Like Buff? Sandy? Did
Who?
Sam Fuller have it?
Yeah, Griff. Yeah, that was his
No, it
nickname.
wasn't, but that's okay. Anyhow, Naked Kiss, the beginnings.
Yes. So, thank you, FD. You know what I love most about you, FD?
Yes, that I can actually use the computer without typing on the keyboard.
No, that you constantly interrupt and take the conversation off course, but then you remind me where we were before you took us off
The
course.
dark page, so to speak.
Yes. What's the dark page?
That's a novel
way.
by Samuel Fuller.
Correct.
Pulp.
Correct. Guess how much a hardcover copy is selling for on Amazon?
I'll bet you like $210.
3,000.
Get out of here, really?
No, but people
Yeah.
do that all the time. They throw the stuff up there and see if there's suckers who will buy it. Apparently, it's been reissued in paperback in Britain for like 14 quid.
You're a world traveler indeed.
Okay, let's get back to the Genesis story here. So as the story goes, Sam Fuller and Constance Towers are on a plane to Guatemala. Don't ask me why. I guess for the premiere of Shot Corridor in Guatemala.
The Spanish version.
The red carpet.
Choco Corridor.
So Fuller and Constance Towers are on a plane to Guatemala, and a stewardess comes up to Constance Towers and says, "Ms. Towers, there's a baby dying in the back." I'm sorry, I can't believe you were laughing at this story, Frank, about a baby dying, by the way.
I'm not laughing.
You were
I
laughing.
was laughing before the baby died.
Well, the baby was always dying.
No, the baby wasn't dying until she was told.
No.
Anyhow, Connie, I prefer Connie now. Okay, go ahead. Connie did what then?
So a stewardess comes up and says, do you have any medical training? Because there's a baby dying in the back. And Constance Towers says, I don't, but let me see if I can help. So the stewardess brings the baby to Constance Towers. And I guess as the story goes, I don't know, I forget the story, she does something with
With a what? You mean that's the experience of Naked Kiss?
Yes.
With the baby?
No,
Future pervert?
FT, you got to stop, man. You got to let me get through this.
All right, look at
Yeah.
Connie.
Okay, thank
Say
you.
Connie.
Just give me a minute here to
You're welcome.
collect myself. So the stewardess brings the baby to Connie Towers, and I think the story was that, excuse me, I'm getting choked up here. Connie Towers took a Dixie cup and somehow hooked it up to the oxygen drop down mask on the plane and gave oxygen to this baby. And Connie Towers is saying, Sam Fuller kept saying, "Oh, can I do something? Can I?" And she was like, "No, Sam, you stay out of it." But apparently the whole time Sam Fuller has his notebook out and is furiously writing notes. So I think that was the genesis of Naked Kiss, when Fuller was watching Constance Towers with this baby.
Really?
Yeah, got the idea for this character of
the whole story.
Kelly, Kelly,
Kelly.
Muffin.
in Naked Kiss.
How about that? That doesn't sound like really true, but that's pretty good. Really?
No, I heard it from Connie.
Yesterday.
No, it's on the. There's some excellent supplements on the Criterion Blu-ray version of The Naked Kiss,
Nice.
including a very long interview with Connie Towers in which she says, "Please call me Connie."
First and foremost.
Excellent name for a memoir, by the way.
From Connie to Constance. But it sounds like it sounds like a really thin inspiration, isn't it, though? I mean, she saves. Well, I mean, we can then talk about his obsession with prostitutes. I mean, because
Yeah, I think that's what happened. He sees, she's with a baby,
yeah.
and then he automatically jumps to, well, what if she was a prostitute? And then what if the guy was a child molester? Boom, we got a movie here.
Yes.
What genre would you say this film
Jesus.
is, FT?
That's an interesting one. Well, I don't know. They call it neo-noir, but it doesn't really fit for me on that.
When I heard it called neo-noir, I was taken aback because I was like, why is it, because I think of neo-noir being like the Grifters or...
Yeah, I don't know.
It is late for a noir.
Yeah, but it doesn't...
I think of it as a blend between noir and melodrama.
Melodrama, yeah.
What I like to call is a mel-noir.
Yeah, melodrama is really closer because it doesn't have... it wasn't shot like a noir at all. It's not contrasty enough. I mean, there's a crime story about it.
It might have been the print you were
I don't think so,
looking
man.
at.
I mean, compare it to like Underworld USA, which is two before it. That's very, very,
Right.
noir.
But it was interesting when, in terms of the melodrama angle, as I was watching, I was like, it reminded me so much of Douglas Sirk.
Oh, good point, yeah.
And then it was interesting, I didn't realize, did you know that Fuller had written a script for a movie that Sirk actually did?
Which one? Do you know?
Shockproof, 1949.
Oh, how about that?
And apparently
surprised,
Fuller hated the way he directed it.
What Sirk movie, stands out for you? Is there something specific or?
The story, and again, Sirk didn't write the story, but Magnificent Obsession, the improbable twist of the story, made me think of Magnificent Obsession.
So you're talking narratively, not visually, right?
Yeah. Let's come back to the film. So let's talk about the opening sequence, which most viewers and critics have said called one of the most boring opening scenes ever put on.
But I think
film.
we can even jump to what's the best scene of the movie. Let's just by starting there. For me, with all its phoniness, because she's not really hitting him, but she's furious at him when the wig gets popped off and you find out that she's bald.
Yeah, do you know who pulled when they were shooting it? Who reached up and pulled off her wig?
Jim Jarmusch.
Yes, he was one of the youngest wig pullers
at the age of 7.
No, it was our director Sam Fuller who was kneeling on the floor and reached up and pulled off her wig.
That sounds dirty.
Pulled off Connie's wig.
You parasite! I'm taking only what's coming to me. 50, 60, 70, 75. I'm not rolling you, you drunken leech. I'm taking only the $75 that's coming to me.
So you're saying the opening scene is you think is the best scene in the film?
Engaging immediately,
Yeah, no,
it's a great beginning.
Is it one of the greatest opening sequences ever?
Yes.
Just opening sequence
yes,
we're talking here.
Yeah, well,
so?
I mean, it's the exact opposite of, let's say, what's the Orson, the long tracking shot, the Touch of Evil.
Touch of Evil.
That's another one that people talk about, the long tracking, the craning shot there. I mean, this is the exact opposite, I mean, it's the concept of the opening that's great because, as I said, some of it's pretty damn phony, and so you go like, oh boy, some of the faults of Samuel Fuller's filmmaking are shown in the beginning, but you don't care. You're looking at this thing going, what the hell's going on?
Yes, no, I think he does. He is prone to do things you could point a finger at and say, boy, that wasn't so good. But I think you need to overlook if you're going to be a Sam Fuller fan, if you're going to like cinema as Marty Scorsese would have it, or at least understand cinema, I think you really need to overlook his flaws And so,
I don't. I think you can look at the flaws and still, and still appreciate cinema. I think this is bullshit. You know what
yeah,
I mean? It's flawed, but it works, and it's flawed in ways that it didn't have to be, but it seems to be running his work, here and there. I will say one thing. I think
yes,
it
no, so,
has to do with no name actors also, or less famous actors.
yeah, it's the actors he could afford. It was, but also again, if he's shooting a film in
Yeah.
4 weeks, for $1.5 million maximum, there's going to be flaws.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I learned from the interview with Connie Towers that Sam Fuller would be working very fast, and he would not call cut.
What did he call? Wait for dinner.
He would turn to the cinematographer and say, or the camera operator, and say, "Did you get it?"
Really?
Yeah. Did you get it? And if the camera operator said yes, then Fuller would say, "Then forget it," and they would move on.
Okay, interesting. I think I think John Huston in his book talks about, was it John Ford or one of those guys that they never said cut either. They said it's swell, it's well.
So maybe that was a thing back in the day with directors is if you were cool, you didn't say cut. You had to come up with your own trademark.
Yes.
What would you call if you were working back then, FT? What would you use instead of saying cut?
Furious. I don't know.
I would say slice.
Slice.
So the opening scene, which we were kind of in agreement is the greatest, one of the greatest opening scenes ever. Hang on, I've got to clear my throat.
Okay. One of the greatest opening scenes ever. The unconscious does not lie, my friend. Yeah, we're Muffin beats him up. The names just drive me crazy in these movies, so they really do. I was laughing the first time. It was just like, I'm like, oh my God, Sam, come on. I call him Sam,
Yes. Sorry, let's get back to the opening scene. Yeah. So I think part of what makes it so great is again, I think the camera work, the design of it cinematically, the camera work, the cutting.
Yeah.
But also just the concept of grabbing the audience in this way. And it was, again, when we talk about great openings, reminiscent of something that it seemed to be the way they like to do it back then. So it reminded me of DOA, the opening scene of DOA, where we have a man walking into a police station, and when the police captain says, "Well, who was it that got murdered?" and the character says, "Me," and then drops dead. or the opening scene of Sunset Boulevard, where the narrator is dead in a swimming
in the water, dead in the water. Yes.
Yes.
DODIW. Not DOA.
So I think, and obviously from what we know about Sam Fuller, it ties in with his basic instinct to never be boring, and always to, which I think leads to, if you're going to point at his flaws, it's like it's always got to be full throttle. And
I don't think that's the flaw. I mean,
right.
You're right. I think you're right to point out that, if he's working in 4 weeks and he's doing minimum takes, because he wants to, the money's going to dry up any minute, or if people are on loan. I mean, I guess Cortez was at the end of his career at this point, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, when I saw Stanley Cortez as the cinematographer, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But it was interesting when I looked at Cortez's curriculum vitae. He didn't really do a lot of great films. I mean, he was a big name because he did Ambersons.
Yeah.
But really, he was no Greg Toland, and I did, and we'll get into it later. I felt bad for Cortez on this picture, having to work with the set. They didn't have a production designer; they had a set decorator, and the stuff that Cortez had to try to make work. Man, well, I'll just talk about it now. I mean, those scenes were in the children's hospital, shooting out the window where there's just the such the obviously badly painted backdrop as just.
That's the first deletion too, right? Yeah, after she sleeps with Griff. Next thing you know, she's in the hospital. Yeah, working there. Your opinion, just what before I forget, is this? Do you think the aftermath of polio? Never mentioned.
I don't know.
Because this was 64, and those kids were, I guess at that point, I was 10. Yeah, my friend, remember, he was in braces, but he recovered. But he was in braces like late 50s, early 60s, I wonder.
I'm younger than you. I was born in 62. And
you're bragging about this now. It's the second time you brought it up.
growing up in New Jersey in a upper middle class high school, all the kids had braces. Cut that out.
No, I like it. What's it called? A brace of geese? All the kids had geese.
What I thought was strange. One of the great mysteries of the film for me was, where are those children's parents?
Yeah, good point.
Why are all these children abandoned at this? Yes, that was one of the questions for me, and it plays into something I'm going to talk about later. I would love to steal, but it was actually brought up in an essay by Robert Polito on this film. Actually, I'll say it now. I guess Polito talked about, I think, an interesting theme of this film is motherhood, and I think that plays into these children without parents. So,
yeah.
as we know, Kelly, Kelly,
Kelly,
can have children, right? Left unsaid there,
right?
Because left unsaid there, and kind of hinted at with Buff when Kelly gives the speech to Buff about how, if she turns into a prostitute,
right,
what's it going to do to her body. I think what's left unsaid,
a health crisis as well.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, so I think what was left unsaid is Kelly had an abortion and has been left unable to have children. And so what's interesting...
Or she had a disease, by the way.
Oh, okay. Good point,
yeah.
FT.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
What kind of disease?
Something that...
No. Something that involves green pus.
Green corridor.
Sorry. But what's interesting... So Kelly, as we know, is unable to have children, yet in Grantville... What is she constantly running into?
I know.
Every time she's out on the street, what does she run into? A baby carriage with a baby.
At the beginning and the end.
She can't avoid babies. They're always...
She sticks the bottle in the babies. Can I I'll make a note here for you when you watch Underworld USA, the mall character in that one, the older woman who does a really great job. The baby theme about a woman who is unable to have children, it's done to such a ridiculous way. She's a doll collector. And I was trying to get you a still from, talk about set design. It's insane. There's this big, 3-foot baby doll that they keep playing with. It's odd. But anyhow, here he moved on to the real McCoy.
Anyway, so coming back to the theme of motherhood in this film, again, courtesy of Robert Polito, then we get to the fantastic song of the film. Tell me why, Mommy Dear, right?
Tell me, please, is the world really round? Tell me, where is the
and then the penultimate scene, where we've got this young girl apparently named Bunny, who is the witness to Grant's pedophilia, and is the only person who can possibly free
more than a witness.
Kelly, a witness, victim,
right.
Free Kelly from this being imprisoned or sentenced to the electric chair
for murder.
Griff, gives her the great speech.
Did you ever have a baby?
No, I can't have a baby.
Pretend you had a baby. Pretend that child in the next room is your little
girl. The mansplaining about being a mother?
Yeah, not go out and win one from the Gipper, but Kelly, God. pretend you're actually a mother. Yeah. Pretend you have a baby.
Child.
Treat her like a baby.
I know. So, the mansplaining thing is just unbelievable.
Yeah, but it's not. It's again. It's overlooked the mansplaining. Again, this. I think there's a very. There was definitely a theme here about motherhood.
Yeah, I
Kelly
know,
not
but
being able
he's
to.
going to tell her. That was embarrassing. I mean, come on. That's like the sexist bullshit from the 60s, you know.
Okay, and it's not embarrassing that they have this child abuse victim that they pull off the street, throw her in a prison cell, interrogate her. Okay, we didn't get what we want. Throw her in the prison cell. Come on, try again, Kelly. You can do it. That would never happen.
No, of course. And the fact that, you know, it had nothing to do with the murder. Anyhow, she murdered the guy. I mean, that was not, you know, that was an explanation for the murder. I mean, she clocked him with with the phone. She killed him. Those charges would not be dropped. There'd be some issue about manslaughter, wouldn't there?
Yes, but
I mean, but you know, we're in movie land here, so that's understood. And so you go, oh, it's great and wonderful, and
well, not only is she not only the charges dropped apparently, but she walks out of that police station, and what happens?
she hugs her four best friends and starts fondling a baby again.
No, but what else? What else is out there when she steps out of the police station?
The Fritz Lang crowd of people were watching her like with weird looks.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
was
yes,
so weird.
Yes,
I mean, they weren't like smiling. They weren't going, "Yay, Kelly!" Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
and so either it was badly directed or it was intentional by Fuller. In that,
I think it was. Yeah, it had to be intentional.
right, and I think the intention is yes, she's a hero because again, all those women out there waiting to greet her are also mothers of children who have now hopefully their children have been spared by being preyed on by Grant.
Yes,
but they can't truly embrace Kelly because after all, Kelly is
she's a hoe.
Yes. So coming back to the opening scene of the film, you're aware of how Fuller shot it? Did the camera work?
No, are you?
Yes.
Is that it?
Oh, you want me to tell you?
No.
Well, Connie Towers said they were handheld cameras. Fuller said they were not, that they were heavy, full-on cameras. He strapped them to the back of a camera operator and then had a grip in front, facing into the lap of the camera operator, and then, would guide the camera operator back as Connie Towers swung at him.
Wait a second. The camera's mounted on his back facing behind him?
Yes.
So he's just like an unseeing dolly.
Yes. And then you've got a grip who's seeing the action who can guide him back.
Right.
And Connie Towers is swatting at the camera.
On her separations. Right.
Yeah.
That's weird because, in The Last Laugh or The Last Man, Murnau's film, he was such a big man that they strapped the camera straight on. And so all those dolly shots in The Last Laugh, and I think some in Sunrise, or he's just walking. He was that good. He's that smooth. Yeah. So this is odd that he put it on his back. So he's being guided like blind man, what's that game? Like pin the donkey.
Right. Yeah.
That's weird. Same with the other side of the separation?
Sorry, and for some reason in my mind, I only remember the side of the camera being swatted at. So what's the other side of the separation?
That's the part I was talking about. That was, it could have been directed differently, so we're not being negative, of the guy is cowering and getting beaten, but he doesn't look like he's getting beaten that badly. But, the action is implication, It's just a revert. It's just it's the other side of the separation. And then there's a two-shot when she goes down, and gets his wallet and takes her $75, not $800, the honest hoe.
Right. Fuller, do you know how what apparently was Fuller's according to Fuller, his inspiration for the Kelly having a shaved head, having her head shaved by her pimp?
France, the collaborator?
Yeah, you knew that?
Yeah.
Well, say it.
I just said it.
No, for our audience, please.
I just said in France with the women collaborators with the German soldiers after the war, the other non-sexually involved collaborators shaved the heads off of the women that shaved the hair off rather of the women that. That's in Hiroshima Mon Amour, by the way, Renee's film. The French character talks about that. That's what happens to her in the flashback sequence when she fell in love with the German. So.
Yeah. So as Fuller put it, and just condensing what you said a little bit, FT. So yes. During World War II.
Yes.
World War II. Yeah, World War II. After the war, or maybe during the war, French women who slept with German soldiers, they would shave off their hair to shame them.
Yes.
To punish them.
Yes.
As if having sex with German soldiers isn't bad enough. So, and as you said, moving along in the film, Kelly, when she gets her pimp down, demonstrates her honesty by only taking what's coming to her, even though there's $800 there. She only takes $70.
75.
75?
Yeah. 5 more for the shaved head. Mental cruelty. I was surprised by that, by the way.
What?
Because, I thought, it was interesting afterwards. The second time I was just like, why didn't she goes, this is for what you owe me, and this is for what you did to my hair. Take another, but she doesn't, she's not into revenge,
So I think the other thing that makes, again, what's great and memorable about the opening scene is it delivers a lot of information to the viewer very fast. So, the bald head is revealed. Yep. And what's also great about the bald head is it's, obviously asks the question, why is she bald? Which then Fuller teases us again when she's in the first scene when she has sex with Griff, and she teases it, she talks about my hair, she's rubbing her hair and,
right.
And says, "Oh, it's so great to have hair again. It just grew back."
Right. She's combing her hair, actually, Ken. She's combing her hair.
Thank you, FT.
You're welcome, my friend.
And it's 1961 because
right.
She writes down a date there. What else do we learn in that scene?
She's in a slip and a bra only.
Right. What is that reminiscent? What other movie of I think right around that time is that so reminiscent? I'm thinking of Janet Leigh in Psycho. In her black slip, black bra.
Okay.
Or maybe actually no, she's in a white slip, black bra. So then we cut to Granville. Again, we see the calendar 1961. Then we immediately cut to Granville where there's a banner 1963. So if we're paying attention, we're like, oh, 2 years have passed. Yep. But most of us miss that because we're too enchanted by the fashion show for handicapped children.
It's a picnic next year.
I mean, I missed the whole 61, 63 thing. Was I'm like, what the fuck? A fashion show for handicapped children. Again, when I first read it, I was like, are there handicapped children like parading around on the runway?
Yes.
And then, of course, we get the next thing where there's a movie marquee where the movie's showing Shot Corridor. And then, as we already talked about, when we get to the park scene with Griff, she's reading Sam Fuller's novel.
Right. There's something first, though, that really struck me.
Go ahead.
When the Kelly's trunk, and we get introduced to Bunny.
Right.
Bunny.
Oh, I didn't realize that girl up front was Bunny.
Mm-hmm. She's tracing the K, and her father. I went back.
Another great title for a memoir, by the way.
Tracing the K. Yes, we got to write down. They're coming fast and furious. Why does he say the father?
Actually, I have to interrupt here.
Actually, no.
I have to interrupt here. I don't think we should do podcasts anymore. I think we should start a business where we just come up with memoir titles and sell them.
Tracing the K, right? And that one's like it's like monograms.
No, and I can't hear the radio commercials now. Do you have a memoir you want to write but have no title? Well, don't worry, memoirtitles.com.
Right. And then, we make them pay for all we do is like tracing the B, tracing the D. Tailored to your particular needs.
But anyway, so
why does Bunny's father goes like, he reprimands her. Don't you fool around with that.
Jay is no name, Uncle Griff.
Bunny,
Yes, Daddy.
don't you fool around with that.
Did you stop that? I stopped that I was trying to make sure of what he said. And the copy I had didn't have closed captions because I wanted to see it. Don't you fool? All she was doing is tracing the K.
Yes, right. The other thing that struck me is about that scene was the loss of the loss of our middle class.
The loss of our middle class?
Yeah, I mean, the idea that this guy who sits outside of a bus station,
The catatonic criminal?
yeah, but apparently, I think these days, somebody who's working as a baggage person outside a bus station is not going to be able to support a home and a family.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point. You're absolutely right. It's odd.
Well, it's not odd, but it's again.
Well, yes, it is odd.
Well, I mean, no,
it's not.
I mean, here's Sam Fuller kind of using this film as a way to poke fun at the hypocrisy and the underbelly of 1950s society,
Or even 1960s society. You know,
right.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
again, I tend to think of it as 50s. Okay, Sam, you had your way. Welcome to 2024, where everything sucks.
right.
And you want to hear about hypocrisy, Sam? Just wait.
Yeah.
Just
Jesus
wait.
Christ.
So anyway, Griff, they go into the park. He asks what's in her case, and of course, he finds out that, or she tells him that she is a representative for Angel Foam. Don't be perverted, FT. She's a representative from.
I'm pretty good at popping
Right.
the cork.
No, I'm pretty good for
Down like gold. Liquid gold.
Angel foam goes down like liquid gold, and it comes up like slow dynamite. For the man of taste.
But he says I'm pretty good at popping the cork if the something is right. What does he say?
I'm pretty good at popping the cork if the vintage is right.
Right. Yeah.
So after she then goes home, Griff sleeps with her. Kind of interesting. You know, Griff is a gray character. You know, he's not black and white because
Yeah,
he
sure is.
You know, most police who sleep with prostitutes do not pay. They usually get it for free.
How do you know?
I used to be a cop. So he pays her, but again, you know, the hypocrisy, you got to leave town. Not in my town. Just go across the river.
A different state.
Yeah. Well, if you stay here, they'll chop me up like a banana.
You're like a ripe banana.
And again, there's tons of interesting phallic symbolism in this movie. Hence the chopping him up like the banana, but also the strange when Grant comes back with his treasures from his trips abroad. What does he give Kelly?
Yeah.
What does he give Kelly?
It's a glass. He goes, it's Venetian.
Venetian. 17th century.
So she goes,
From Venice.
oh, does that mean it's from Venice?
Yes, but what is the glass? It's a fucking dick glass. It's the glass shaped like a dick, and then
Well, not really, but you know.
what do you mean not really? It's shaped like mine.
It's not like the one that Barney got, the skull cup.
Right.
Remember when Barney goes like, "You never took me to Europe to have perverted fun."
Why so glum?
Well, it's the first time you didn't take me to Europe with you, Mr. Grant.
Quit griping, Barney. You got a dream job going all over the world with him.
No, but I mean, clearly it's a dick-shaped glass because when we later see her,
Wow, it's phallic.
it's beyond phallic. Because when we see her,
it's beyond phallic.
I mean, clearly it doesn't function as a glass. When we see her drinking out of it, it's like the most ridiculous thing
It's
to
a
try to
vase.
drink. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Well, it keeps the dust out of it or the spit, like your microphone.
So anyway, after Griff sleeps with her, she wakes up. She wakes up the next day, looks in the mirror, and decides no more life of prostitution for me. And then she tells him that. She tells Griff, yeah, after I slept with you, I decided I'm never doing this again. And that's got to hurt. That's really got to hurt.
I know, poor Griff. I felt sorry for him. That's why he's so pissed off at her during the interrogation.
No, seriously, you're making light of it. But can you imagine?
I am making fun.
Can you
of it.
imagine? Can you imagine being a guy and a prostitute, a lifelong prostitute says, "After I slept with you,
I'm going straight.
Yeah, I can't do this anymore."
I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But again, I think it goes to, again, the Griff character. I mean, he does so many things where you think he's an asshole, but I think on the whole, he's actually, he bends over backwards for him, much like the camera operator did in the opening scene.
I don't know about bending over backwards. He ultimately gives her a fair
Well, I
shake.
think he bends over backwards when Bunny comes in at the end and doesn't say anything, and he's like,
at the end, yeah.
"Pretend you're a mother." Okay, sorry. Yeah.
All right, where are we now?
I think it's time for
Charlie?
the rating this film on the Limburger Havarti scale.
You mean the Limvardi scale?
And again, for viewers, listeners who are viewing us for the first time, the Limburger Havarti scale is a scale developed at Film Symposium West that tries to
Exclusively.
objectively rank the cheesiness of a motion picture or the lack of cheesiness. So a film that is high on the Limburger scale would be very cheesy.
In what way? It stinks?
A film that's high on the Havarti, that's hard on towards the Havarti scale is less cheesy. Where would you put this film, FT, on the Havarti Limburger scale?
I would, it's interesting. It would have to be like a terrain of intermixing layers of Havarti and
Yeah, no,
and
that's
Limburger.
perfect.
Yeah, because that's what, I was trying to look to say, is this like some sort of thing that people do? Do they mix cheeses?
Well, not here in the United States where it's prohibited by the FDA, but
By
I
law.
think in France they do.
No, but even like, would make like a layer, like a terrine.
I think that's perfect. I was picturing just a wheel of cheese that was half Limburger, half Havarti.
Oh no, because it goes from one to the to the
Right.
next
Yes,
very quickly.
No, and I think that's the design of it. It gets incredibly cheesy, and then it gets incredibly cheesy, and then Sam Fuller cuts the cheese. No, it constantly, as soon
What
as
does
he's
that
cheesy.
mean again? Cuts the cheese. What's that mean? I forget.
Are you serious?
I forgot.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, what's it? Cut the cheese mean?
Fart.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Right.
What does it mean to piss?
To pistulate.
To micturate.
To what? Micturate. But why is
Yeah.
it? Okay. All right.
Yeah. So Fuller keeps going from these very deliberately, I think, into the design scenes that feel incredibly cheesy and sappy that are immediately then, cut to, something incredibly dark and horrifying. But even within scenes, I think that's the design because we have this horribly cheesy scene where Kelly, Kelly,
Kelly,
goes to rent the room from Josephine,
God.
the seamstress, and it's so corny. I mean, again, we were introduced to Charlie,
The big red one.
the war mannequin, but then Josephine, talks about shows her the bed and says,
Do you realize we spend about a third of our lives in bed?
cut to Kelly, like, I think it's more than that.
That was a good one. But then it's followed up with that corny verse.
4 corners to my bed, 4 angels round my head, 1 to watch and 1 to pray, and 2 to bear my soul away.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I was just like, oh man. I do remember at the Thalia, there were some people there that didn't let this stuff go by.
What did they do?
Well, you would just hear like, oh, come on. You like hear people start laughing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't have it with me, but for the Criterion Blu-ray in the booklet, that is print. They call that out. It's like it fills up a whole page in the booklet. So I think there's a subtext or there's something more to that than was grasped by the barbarians at the Thalia.
and including myself. What the fuck? I just didn't get
Yeah.
it. I mean, the angels will protect you, and she becomes an angel for the children, and all that. But actually, right here, when she says your face is your reference also, the cheese kind of lasts for a while there because then, it's Griffith Candy's Bonbon Parlor with the best design, the best costumes in the world. You know which one I'm talking about?
No. Yes.
At Candy's
yes.
Bonbon Parlor.
Sorry, it's you
those
threw me there
costumes
because
are-
it's Candy's a la carte bonbon parlor. Yeah.
True. A la carte. Yeah.
How did you feel about Candy's a la carte bonbon? No. How did you feel about the place?
I had no idea what it was really. I mean, I didn't. That's one of the cases where they had to say, that they're prostitutes.
They're bonbons.
But those hats are those they look like the Russell Stover chocolate boxes that were rigged up for their heads, much like the cameras rigged up on the guy's back,
I was somewhat enchanted. I mean, were places ever like that? Houses of prostitution where it was so genteel?
How would I know?
Because you're older than I am.
Were they? Right, dating back to Toulouse-Lautrec. Hat rack is the name of the woman that comes over. They hang your hat on her tits. Oh, Griff.
Do we know each other?
We met in the park in Grantville, near the fountain, on a Thursday. Don't you remember me?
Sure, you came in by bus. Sure, I remember.
It was very kind of you to recommend me to Candy. I just love selling bonbons.
Oh, my God.
But coming back to cheesiness cut by horror, the best demonstration of that is the rehearsal of the children in the hospital, where they rehearse the song about the mother, "Mommy, Mommy, why are you crying?" And it's so cheesy. Again, I would hope it was intentional.
Yeah.
The close-ups of the children, which never quite really match the wider. I mean, they're like shove the camera in these kids' face without really taking heed of the angles.
I know.
And just keep boom, boom, boom into go into these children's faces. And then, of course, we cut to Grant watching, and it's just, and but not, again, it's well directed there because he's not, I mean, I didn't get any sense of him being a creeper in that scene. Did you, FT?
No,
right.
Didn't.
So,
I didn't. Right.
So we have that scene, and then we go to the scene in Grant's house where we hear that song again playing on the reel-to-reel recorder, and then we're just complete horror when Bunny comes skipping by, and the look on Kelly's face.
And that was something for the time. That's one thing Sam Fuller is famous for. It should be important for. He really did. Address racism in some of the movies. And in this case, child molestation in middle class America.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of Grant.
By the way, one thing before this, at Grant's party, where Mac takes Kelly. Mac, all these, can't you hear Sam Fuller saying it? Mac, takes, what's one of the gifts?
What's one of the gifts?
Yes.
A
doll, a doll
really?
for Bunny.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And this is for Bunny, the prettiest child in Grantville,
Is it that doll?
the one we talked about.
She'll treasure that all her life.
And then there's the Venetian glass from the 17th century.
Yeah. I mean, I think all the scenes in Grant's house, I think, are some of the. Well, let me put it this way: the scenes in Grant's house are so much better than the scenes in the children's hospital.
Yes, except for the bullshit Beethoven Opus 26.
What are you talking about?
Piano Sonata Opus 26.
I know, I heard it, but what scene? I don't know what scene you're talking about.
Well, all the the scenes with Kelly and Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Listening to. Well, actually, it was Kelly the first one, and then Grant echoes exactly. That was a publisher put that on.
Oh.
Beethoven had nothing to do with it.
Moonlight Sonata. My favorite. I see myself in a boat when I hear that. A boat on a lake in the moonlight. And leaves lazily falling on me.
I see myself by moonlight on the Lake of Lucerne, in a boat wandering through a leafy alley in a
And there's two other movements to that piece, so people don't know that, but that's another element of the cheese, the sound,
Not only do people not know that, but we just lost half of our audience. They don't want to know. No, sorry to be. But you're talking FT obviously about the scene where Grant. Would you like to? So where does he ask her? Would you like to see where Byron wrote his sonnets? Is that in the scene?
Same one. It's the same
so
one.
it's in the seduction
After the Beethoven,
scene.
it becomes that. They move on. They move on with the great line. What's the great line? You remember the great line? What is it? Gota?
No, it's not. First of all, it's not Goethe. It's Gotha. It's Gotha. They say Gotha.
But how do you pronounce it?
It's Goethe.
Goethe. Goethe.
But in the movies, she says Gotha, and this is something that Connie Towers talks about in her interview. She says, "Sam, I'm sorry, it's pronounced Goethe," and Fuller says, "I think no, I think he says correctly, but Kelly wouldn't know that."
Oh, right, yeah. What's the line though?
I don't know.
A sweetheart is a bottle of wine. A wife is a wine bottle.
I had to stop and go like, wait, what did he just say?
Yeah.
And that's where Grant is looking very creepy, by the way. Grant's looking pretty damn creepy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the thing about, and I think that's why that actor got cast as Grant. He works as a rich
playboy.
Scion, playboy, but he's also got a creepy look to him. One of my favorite lines of Grant's is,
I'll never strike at your past, not even with a flower.
Oh, Charlie.
I'll never strike at your past, not even with a flower.
Right. I know. I had that down here. I know. It's a good
Okay,
one.
but where does he seduce her on the couch with the gondola? That's a second scene. That's not right after the party, is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's right after the party?
It's the same. It's one continuing. It keeps going.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, that sequence where he shows his home movies.
Right. You know, I shot those on a gondola.
Happiness was born a twin.
Lord Byron, my favorite poet.
Would you like to visit where Byron wrote many of his famous sonnets?
Venice?
I'm going to take you there right now. That apartment on the left is where your friend Lord Byron wrote Beppo. That's where he swam the Grand Canal. I took these movies from a gondola.
It's my second favorite line of Grant's, where we see home movie footage shot from a gondola, and he says, "I took these movies from a gondola."
It's Sam Fuller's war footage, no doubt. You know what I mean? So that's what.
But
my guess is.
the cinematography in that in the home movie sequence is, I think, some of the best in the picture.
Yeah, I like it.
No, it's
good.
great.
Yeah.
And then the whole gondola
with the bed. Yeah.
The couch.
Right.
It's a couch. Yeah. So he has her on a couch, and she pretends she's on a gondola. That he actually stole that. That was a trick I used in my bachelor days.
With the flowers and the leaves falling down.
Lay back and pretend you're in a gondola in Venice.
If you pretend hard enough, and if you listen hard enough, you'll hear his fine Italian voice.
I mean, that's the thing that Sam Fuller, he's going to introduce highbrow, but he introduces the lowest possible that you can. Beethoven's Fifth, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, Opus 26, number 2, and Santa Lucia. That's, I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, just saying, you know what I'm saying? Highbrow introduction culture, the lowest, rung of the, but anyhow, getting back to the scene, so what really happens there?
What really happens?
What's the real key there at 3903?
Sorry, the naked kiss.
Yeah.
The naked kiss.
But what's important there?
I don't know.
She kisses him and lets it go.
Yes.
And then when the camera pans over or tracks over to what? The film runs out.
Yes. But anyway, so what you're talking about there, FT, for the audience is she's being seduced by him. He kisses her, and she senses something upsets her, and we see that.
And we see it in him too, by the way, because it is a separation when you go back and look at it. But then she kisses him anyhow.
Yeah, well, yes, because...
What do you mean, yes?
Well, she can see this Grant represents everything she wanted in her, life. She could have riches.
True, but don't you think there's a tension there then?
No, I think this overlooks her concerns because of what she has to gain there.
So Griff is right then. It's you really hit the gold mine. You really, that.
Right.
In a sense. Yeah, to a degree, maybe, yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing about this film. While it seems so coarse. So, and by the way, there's a big, in one of the supplements on the Criterion Blu-ray, there's this whole thing where Fuller's being interviewed by this British TV show. And, he talks about, these new film directors think I'm so great in Europe. I was discovered. But he gets totally stuck on some critic who called his films primitive.
Huh.
And I don't know if it's I think it's vendors, because Sam Fuller's like, and they said it was a primitive, my films were primitive, and I went to dinner with that guy, and what do you mean they're primitive? And so it really
pissed
bothered him.
It wasn't Vendors, because he worked in Vendors films. I'd be surprised. He's an American friend, and he's in State of Things. He's a big part in State of Things.
Right.
Yeah.
But so this idea
primitive, but it is. They are.
Yes. They are primitive. But my point was they're primitive. They're so. You would think they're not subtle is the first thing that comes to mind. Yet there's a lot of subtlety, like in this whole.
It's both, right?
In this whole thing with Kelly and why she does what she does. There is subtlety, even though it's superficially, it just seems so over the top and gross and.
Well, primitive. Right. It's both complexity and contradiction.
Bing, 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 another memoir title.
I stole that from Robert Venturi, Architecture. Yes, ding, 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 ding.
So anyway, so this whole issue where Kelly senses something off in Griff's kiss.
Well, we don't know what. Right.
What, we find out later, right?
Yeah, but we see her have a moment.
Yeah. Yes.
But then, as I said, when you look at the separation again, he looks pretty fucking creepy at that point.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. So again, this whole idea of the naked kiss was something that Sam Fuller actually learned about from hanging out with prostitutes. You know that when he was a newspaper guy in New York, he would call in his stories from a house of prostitution that let him use the phone. You're aware of this?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So we talked about the idea being sparked by Constance Tower on the plane with the baby, but really it was Fuller, spent a lot of time with these prostitutes, got to know them, and I don't think carnally, by the way. I think he literally
I believe that.
Befriended. I don't think it was a carnal relationship with the prostitutes. He befriended them, found out about them, and that's where he found out about the idea of the iron kiss.
Oh, I don't know what the iron kiss is.
Well, in the movie, it got changed to the naked kiss, but this is where he first learned about the iron kiss, where a prostitute would be kissed by a man, and by the taste in their mouth, they could tell that this man was a pervert.
What, like a rusty taste, a metal taste?
I guess so, but I mean, the whole thing raises a lot of questions with me.
As it should.
Yeah, foremost is why would you want to kiss a prostitute on the mouth? I mean, a woman who has had a day's worth of angel foam in their mouth,
concentrated angel foam,
right?
Angel foam paste.
Yes,
she should have had toothpaste. What is it? Toothpaste? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of hookers apparently, at least in cinema, don't kiss, right?
I don't know. No, like I said, when we were talking about Candy's brothel, I was intrigued by it. Was it really like that? Because I've never slept with a prostitute.
Well, but
no. So when I got to ask you, FT, when have you kissed a prostitute? Have you ever slept with a prostitute?
No, I have not. Not knowingly. I'm raised a Catholic boy.
When you say not knowingly, what do you say?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
let me give you a hint here. If they asked you for money afterwards, that means they were a prostitute.
Okay. No.
So you've never. No. A woman has never asked you for money after you slept with them. How
about you?
They've always asked for a refund.
That was a good one. They always asked for a refund. You had that planned. What's that, a Woody Allen joke? Yes?
No, I just made that up on the spot.
Did you really?
Honestly.
That's a good one. They always ask for a refund. Nice. I liked it. Mr. Sweetie, Mr. Sweetie's bugging me. I just
Okay,
want to
let's-
I just want to say one thing. You know, everybody talks about marginalized character. Here's the weird thing about you're right. You know, he spent his time in whorehouses. You know, but Pick Up on South Street, China Gate, The Naked Kiss, Underworld USA, all have you know, hookers as key characters. You know, which is interesting. You know,
Can I ask you a philosophical question? But it's a cinematic. It's a
filiosive.
Why are there always hookers with a heart of gold, but no gold with a heart of hooker?
John Lee, fishing hooks.
Let's get back to the film.
Mr. Sweetie, what's going on? That's the dog, by the way. One of the mascots.
Oh, you have a dog there.
Oh, he's horking. Jesus. What's
Horking, using the Swedish term.
Horking.
Horking.
Let's get to one of the audience's favorite parts of this podcast, the best slap in the film.
Which one?
As if you're tuning in for the first time, one of the most important theories of Film Symposium West is that a film cannot be great if there's no slapping in the film, and this film does have a slap. It has multiple slaps, meaning
I think 7.
Wow, another memoir title right there.
7 slaps for 7 for 7 dudes.
So, what do you think that was the best slap in this film, FT?
The one where right before sleeping on the skin of a nightmare.
What do you mean?
I made $25 tonight. 10, 10, and 5.
Where'd you get that money?
A woman gave it to me.
What woman?
Candy.
Those bonbons aren't there just to serve drinks, you know.
I know.
You had that coming to you.
I thought she was going to just like talk to her, but she turns around. I was wondering if she was going to slap the little kid because he couldn't touch his toes.
That's one of the interesting things is I think when Kelly
Kelly
beats Grant to death with the phone receiver,
Both abnormal.
I think it's really well set up because that's the thing. We've seen that Kelly, she goes off and hits people
like crazy.
Yeah. She's slap happy.
Literally.
My favorite slap, if you're asking.
I am asking.
You'll have a problem breaking in those little girls to walk the streets on crutches.
I washed my face clean the morning I woke up in your bedroom.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
Not only is it a good slap, but, again, that's when she tells him that after sleeping with him, she's not going to turn tricks anymore. And then, of course, the great line.
I saw a broken down piece of machinery. Nothing but the buck, the bed, and the bottle for the rest of my life. That's what I saw.
But the runner-up. I guess for this one we have to do best slap and runner-up for best slap. When she slaps Candy is phenomenal.
Sit down. Let's talk business.
It's a good one. That's a two-parter.
10.
Right. Yes. Good.
10 and 5.
You're right, because then she shoves the money. I like the,
No, it's a three-parter. It's a three-parter. Yes, because she shoves the money in her mouth, and then in the penultimate scene, or close to the penultimate scene, when Candy comes to the police station, what does she say?
Nobody shoves dirty money in my mouth.
Possibly another good title for a memoir.
How do you pronounce the word despicable?
Not the way they do in the movie.
And a despicable failure as a woman.
Despicable.
You're despicable.
Let's turn to.
You don't want to talk about.
Well, I just want to move. I hear. This is cruel. If the audience hears a dog whining to go
despicable.
out, or harking, as you call it.
I'm going to slap him right now, Mr. Sweetie. This is just because of the movie. This is only because Kenny made me do it.
You're despicable.
Despicable. Thanks for the moral guidance.
Let's go on to it. No, I don't care what you do, but again, the audience
not on camera.
Right. I don't care what you do in your own time.
In the comfort of your own home.
You can put peanut butter on your penis on your own time.
Dear unconscious.
So let's move on to another audience favorite category. Let's go on to the Maria Sofia Strada Worst Actor Award.
Oh man.
Named in honor of Maria Sofia Strada on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Wait, somebody did strike me. You go first.
I'm going to go with I'm sorry, I don't have the actor's name in front of me, but I'll grab it in a second. The actor who plays Griff there's some real groaner performances in there.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what's the? I thought Hat Rack.
Oh, Griff. How are you, Griff? So glad to see you again.
By the way, Griff picked her up off of a bus too. That's a little detail.
Right. Yes, it's Anthony Isley is the actor who plays.
Did he ever make anything else? I forgot.
Oh yeah, no, he's constant. You know, he's a one episode guy.
Right.
He was on. I mean, he worked. Sorry, you raised the question. This guy worked a lot.
All right, that's too bad.
Mannix. It's too
right.
bad.
It is.
It's too bad. Fuck him.
With love.
Let's work through. What did you think of the direction here by Samuel Fuller?
You know, again, first thing I thought of in this movie was what a great script, and I think the direction is primitive.
You're saying the one thing that would make Sam Fuller come out and punch you in the face,
steaming,
slap you out.
He would slap me.
Yeah. I was struck. I agree with you. By the way.
Yeah.
I mean, a big what if here. I mean, and this would make Marty would say that it shows that I don't like cinema.
Yeah, Marty's full of shit.
At least I don't understand it. Yeah. Which again would be a great thing if we could have a quote for our podcast. These guys don't even understand cinema. Martin Scorsese. I was struck by the connections, all the not the Roman Polanski connections here.
You mean this song?
No. I mean, there's a lot of Polanski connections here, and apparently Polanski was a big Samuel Fuller fan.
No, he wasn't. Was he?
That's what I heard, and I think we the connections are remember why did we choose this film? We did it for Patsy Kelly month. Patsy Kelly, who played Mac. So Polanski cast Patsy Kelly. I think he probably, was aware of her from this film. Oh yes, no, I have it here for sure. Roman was very influenced by Sam Fuller. Must be true if I have it written down. I was also struck by the use of the Beethoven motifs, just like in Rosemary Baby, and
yeah, but that was wonderfully done. This was
who did Roman hire? Even though he's not credited, because Roman fired him, or he had to be fired. Who did Roman hire to be the cinematographer for Chinatown?
Oh, Cortez.
Yeah, and they had to fire him.
Right, that's right. Chinatown, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is the kind of stuff you only hear here on Film Symposium West, folks.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Let's talk. So, cinematography, we talked about Cortez. Editing.
It was adequate. There's some nice scenes, there's some, nothing really astonishing, but nothing. Well, there are a couple. I didn't know whether it's the print, because are we trusting that this was like a restored print? No, in my opinion.
The print I had from Criterion was very nice.
Yeah, but I'm talking about heads and tails of scenes. There's a couple.
Okay.
There's a couple weird things that happen, like when Kelly says to Buff, like, my lame dress. There's a cut there out to the long shot where it's just.
Do you remember that lame gown of mine? I think Miss Josephine could fit you right into it.
Oh, that's great.
Something else had to have happened. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just either that or such horrible direction. But I like the cutting, not the acting and not the staging of the opening, but the cutting is very strong. It's great. It moves. And there's nice separations. I like the old separations. Anyhow, next.
FT, for the audience, please define.
What is a separation?
What is a separation?
When two characters are engaged in some activity, the one way you could record that is by having a shot of both of them being in the picture frame. So you're going to see them both talking.
A two-shot.
Right, thank you. The other way is you can move into two close-ups that alternate to each other, and it's called the separation or alternations, or what I think they call them singles now.
And what is the clinical term for a director who
this is
gets nervous about shooting those scenes?
Oh, wait, they get nervous. There's a joke coming here. Oh.
What is the clinical term for a director who gets nervous about shooting those scenes you just described?
Separation anxiety.
Exactly.
Yay!
All right, we talked about production design.
Yeah.
Oh
my God, terrible.
That dead horse.
Terrible.
We talked about best scene. Best sex scene would have to be the gondola scene. I was hoping you would not choose the bunny scene. The bunny.
You're hoping I wouldn't choose that.
Yes.
There's not enough peanut butter in that scene for you.
Best actress.
I do think Connie Towers was, for the most part, pretty good. The worst part was the very difficult scene to do, which seems to be standard in every Sam Fuller movie after 1960, which is to have a scene where one of the protagonists has the voices in the head.
Many people had a past like mine, and they made out, didn't they? Or did they?
The scene with Charlie where she's trying to make up her mind,
right,
where she has her doubts.
Why should Grant want to marry a woman like me? Confidentially, Charlie. You girls are always chasing dreams. Well, why shouldn't I have a right to catch mine?
Towers is not good there. But, she does strike me as being a better Tippi Hedren.
Ding, ding, ding. Another great. We should sell that. We should sell that to Connie Towers.
Right.
A better Tippi Hedren by Constance Towers. What I was going to talk about was you reminded me of the scene talking to Charlie. I forgot to talk about the scene after she talks to Charlie. The very strange way she lets Grant know she accepts his proposal for matrimony. We didn't talk about that.
It's a deal.
Well, but before she says that.
Was that where she confesses that she's her past?
No. So he asks her to marry him.
Right.
She says she thinks about it.
Thinks it over.
She goes back and talks to Charlie, the mannequin, and then barges into Grant's house at 6:30 in the morning and throws on Beethoven's Fifth and conducts it in a very
awful way. Right.
Yes.
That's just terrible.
Right. And then Grant comes down and looks at her from the stairs. And now here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal. As creepy as Grant is, and he's a pedophile.
Yes.
If I was Grant, at that point, I would say, I'm not going to marry this woman.
She's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. As Max says,
Some people are born to write books, symphonies, paint pictures, build bridges. But Kelly?
I don't know. She was born to conduct. Here's my question I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
When you wake up, do you rub your eyes and stretch and yawn?
No.
It's left over from silent films.
Right. No, conventions of, yes. Well, what do characters back then do when they're drunk? They hiccup.
Oh,
do
right.
you hiccup? Do you hiccup when you're drunk, FT?
Never.
Yeah.
I've never been drunk though.
And here's the sad thing, and it's a confession.
It's a really sad thing.
Yeah, and it's a confession, but I will, as long as we're alone here, I will confess it to you. When I'm drunk.
When?
Often. When I'm drunk, I rub my eyes and stretch. When I wake up, I hiccup.
That means you have a hangover.
Yes. Here we go. Let's get back to the action here. Best actor.
Best actor. Oh my God. Yeah. There's none. Yeah. I can't think of. So it's some supporting actor?
I guess it has to be.
I don't know. Who would it be?
I thought the Procurer was pretty good.
Oh, yes, I agree. When he did one little scene. Yes, indeed.
Well, two scenes. I mean, he's in
Well,
the opening.
no, I don't think he's so good at the beginning. I
Okay,
disagree
so-
with that. You know,
so
but when he comes in there, yes, and talks about the blackmail scheme. You know, that you notice that he and Candy talked, because she basically talks about the same thing when she comes into the jail.
Hmm.
That Kelly was planning this big blackmailing scheme. You know, it was based on the political thing.
By the way, that actor is Monty Mansfield. Why are you laughing?
I don't know. Sounds real to me. Monty Mansfield.
And he did not work a lot. He after the Naked Kiss is his first credit. He was in one Mission Impossible and one Get Smart in '69. That's it.
How about that?
And a couple other things, but yeah. So
he's a dope fiend, probably. You never know.
He's a hiccupper.
an eye rubbing hiccuper. Hiccup. Hey, if I was gonna remake this movie, I was just thinking.
Yeah.
I'd have Travolta play Grant.
As a 1-year-old. you
No, remake.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
See, you got stuck by your own thing.
No, I was trying to help you out because I was thinking, okay,
you're trying to help me out.
No,
Travolta as who? As Bunny?
No, I was trying to help you out because I was thinking, okay, Travolta is a 1-year-old. That doesn't work, but Frank, it could work if you put him in leg braces in a crib, in a pirate's hat. Actually, it would be a cool remake with Travolta, 1-year-old in a crib with a pirate's hat that says "First Mate," and Samuel L. Jackson in the crib next to him with
no hat. What is the black kids? It says nothing.
No, but basically we have dialogue written by Quentin Tarantino between them.
Watch. I am now making a prediction. Tarantino's going to remake this movie before he dies.
I'm making a prediction.
No, he isn't.
No, he isn't. All right, let's move on to some trivia. How about that? So Candy, was played by Virginia Gray. What do you know about her?
Oh no, she looked familiar. Nothing. I didn't get to look up anything today. What?
She was Clark Gable's lover.
Really?
Apparently her heartbroken when Clark Gable did not marry her.
And moved on to, who was she with? He was with Carol Lombard, maybe?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Trivia question. What was Sam Fuller's last name? Real last name at birth? Well, actually maybe not at birth, but his father changed his name. What was his father's last name?
I'm feeling something here. It's not in the Wikipedia article. I'm feeling something. What is it?
Rabinovich.
Shut up.
Seriously.
Is it?
Yeah. And Fuller said his father took their name by looking in the Mayflower passenger registry.
Are you serious?
That's how he picked Fuller. Yeah. And that's how he picked Fuller.
Oh, right. Inspired by Samuel Fuller Pilgrim, a doctor who arrived on the Mayflower. That's so weird.
So any last thoughts on The Naked Kiss, 1964, no. Samuel Fuller?
So one last thought. Of the movies made in 1964.
Wait, I just said any last thoughts. You said no.
Yes, one. 1964. What other pictures would you talk about?
Well, I don't know. Again, that was strange when I tried to see what was at the Academy Awards this year. Was striking.
Yeah, I know.
There's this movie, and then the Academy Award winners are My Fair Lady and Mary Poppins.
But how about your man Sidney Lumet? Why is this an important year for him? Well, I hate when you do that to me.
He was bar mitzvahed.
No, he made 2 films in '64. 2
wow.
were released.
Oh,
both The Pawnbroker and, I didn't realize this, Failsafe.
Oh,
he did Failsafe and
The Pawnbroker.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? And also, Strangelove came out this year.
Right. No, and that was my thoughts about this film when I was watching. I was like, wow, this must have been so radical for '64. And then I looked at the Academy Awards and said, yeah, it's radical if the big films were Mary Poppins
Right.
and My Fair Lady. But then Kubrick is doing Strangelove and winning, at least nominated for the Academy
The
Award. I don't know
Killers,
if it won.
Don Siegel's The Killers, where Ronald Reagan.
Oh.
Speaking of slaps, John Cassavetes slaps Ronald Reagan,
Oh.
And that's when the downfall of Billy Wilder, though, was 1964 with Kiss Me Stupid.
I love Kiss Me Stupid.
Do you?
Kiss Me Stupid is the Dean Martin.
Yeah, Dean Martin, Kim Novak. Oh, I got to see that.
Oh, I love that.
All right, but people talk about that was, there's interesting. Marnie came out in 1964. I think Elvis made 3 films in 1964. Hard Day's Night. Isn't that something?
Yeah, like I said, the times were a changing. In
yes,
64.
They were. They were starting.
And I think a lot of that had to do with me being
born. Yes. Oh, plus, here's the best one for you. Ready? Your Cheating Heart came out in 1964, starring who as whom?
Hank Williams as Hank Williams.
No, you won't believe who Hank Williams was. George Hamilton.
Wow. Talk about typecasting.
Isn't that something? All right, buddy. So where are we?
I don't know, but I think we should acknowledge that again, we chose this film because of the great Patsy Kelly, who was in Rosemary's Baby and of course played Mac in this film. What did we think of Patsy Kelly in this film, FT?
She was fine. I liked her. I mean, she's what else is she in?
I don't know, but we're not going to look. Okay, here we go. She was in Mannix. No.
Oh my God, she was in 1937 as a kid.
Yeah, no, she was a
girl from Missouri.
Yeah, she was an old-time Hollywood actor, and again, I don't know if Roman cast her because of this, because again, his idea for casting Rosemary's Baby was all these old-time Hollywood actors, which Patsy Kelly would have been. But yeah, why don't we wrap it up? Why don't you take FT for a walk? So he doesn't have to
FT for a walk.
sorry.
That's the case of the man or the dog walking the man. Told by the real dog lover, Ken Mercer.
Well, it's kind of like the child being father to the man.
Yes, exactly. Well done. Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna let you take Mr. Sweetie for a walk before he starts horking.
Horking.
First, starts licking his chops.
Okay.
All right, where are we? That's it?
Let's cue the music. All right. Have a good one, FT.
They Shoot Films is a production of Film Symposium West. Produced by Anne-Marie De Palma. Studio announcer Roy Blumenfeld.